Last week, OpenAI's leadership publicly stated that the question and answer mechanics are no longer the primary driver for their product. In plain English, the chat box is becoming obsolete. They didn't say that about a competitor's product. They said it about ChatGPT. Now, this is worth understanding because it's telling you where this whole industry is starting to go and what's really driving it. In the next 10 minutes, I'm going to break down what exactly OpenAI is doing, what they're building, and why they're building it, and what the Anthropic or Claude versus OpenAI battle tells you about where the real value is going. And by the end, you'll understand why a well-constructed strategy, yours, if you've been building it, is model agnostic. And it doesn't matter who wins the platform race. And I'll show you why that's true. And that's what this channel is about. Protecting you as an individual or protecting your company so that you can thrive and move forward in this rapidly changing world. There are fundamentals that don't change, and that's what we cover in this channel. OpenAI is doing the biggest redesign of ChatGPT since it launched in 2022. They're calling it a superapp. That word gets used pretty loosely. Here's what it actually means in practice. The new ChatGPT is being built in what they actually call the orchestration layer. It doesn't just answer your questions. It infers what you're trying to accomplish, breaks it into steps, and routes those steps to the right tool automatically without actually asking. Think about what that looks like on a Tuesday morning. Instead of opening Slack, Jira, and then your email, maybe a browser, one interface handles all of the routing. It sees your screen, it clicks, and then it types, and it browses on your behalf while you keep working in the background. There are already 90 plus application plugins: Slack, Salesforce, Canva, Booking.com, and there's also persistent memory appearing called Chronicle that learns your workflow patterns and then applies them the next time. Here's the metaphor. The chat box was the Model T. Everyone learned to drive it. Now, OpenAI is starting to build the highway system. But the people who adapt faster won't be the ones who learn the new interface. They'll be the ones that understand why the road was built. And they had already started encoding their workflows and their intelligence, their pattern recognition, and their experience into AI infrastructure before the peers even realized there was a new road at all. Those are the people that are in demand, and that's what this channel is all about. Or perhaps it's a business that has realized this and they've understood that their customer service is actually the most important factor of them keeping ahead of their competitors, because all the products are now starting to become vanilla. And again, follow this channel because that's what we're going to be doing. To understand why this is happening, you need to understand the financial pressure that OpenAI is under. 900 million weekly users they have, but only 50 million are paying. That's a conversion rate of under 6%. And currently, OpenAI carries of global financial obligations to Oracle, Microsoft, and NVIDIA, who are fronting the compute cost in the expectations of a massive payout. The conversation chat model doesn't generate that payout. Free users talking to a chat box aren't profitable. The compute cost is real, the revenue isn't. So what does generate revenue? OpenAI have said agents, or at least they've said it by their actions in this. When a user deploys an autonomous agent, token consumption increases by up to 24 times compared to a standard conversation. A single task agent researching, drafting, routing, and execution isn't one query. It's dozens of loops, and every loop is billable. That's why they're building what they're calling the superapp. Not because the chatbot experience was bad, but because the chatbot experience doesn't pay for an infrastructure to build ahead of an IPO. If this is useful, please subscribe. One video a week, no filler. Now here's where it gets really interesting. OpenAI's enterprise revenue is currently 40% of their total revenue. Their target by the end of the year is 50%. That's not a warning, it's a signal. And if you want more of these updates, please subscribe to my newsletter called The Signal. It comes out once a week. Again, no fluff. There's a real strategic split happening here between the two leading AI labs. And it's worth understanding as an operator because the choices they're making right now are telling you something important. OpenAI's move? Aggressive distribution over margin protection. There's also a framework called OpenClaw, about 3.2 million users, one of the fastest growing open source agent platforms ever built. When Anthropic blocked its API credentials a little bit earlier this year from running on OpenClaw to protect its computing margins, OpenAI did the opposite. They let OpenClaw users run their most powerful model for a flat $23 a month, taking the margin hit on purpose to lock in the 3.2 million developers in their ecosystem. And furthermore, they hired the person who developed the OpenClaw infrastructure in the beginning. He now works for OpenAI. That is the OpenAI model. Move fast, capture distribution. Anthropic's model is a controlled environment, margin protection, and enterprise compliance. And guess who's earning a lot of revenue now? Claude overtook ChatGPT in the Apple App Store in the same week OpenAI announced its super app pivot. At the Super Bowl, Anthropic ran an ad with a single message. Ads are coming to AI, but not to Claude. This is no longer a polite conversation. For an experienced professional, OpenAI is betting on reach and the ecosystem lock-in. Anthropic is betting on trust and compliance. Those are different propositions and worth knowing which one you're building on. But there is a more important strategic point, and this is what our whole approach is built on. The encoding work that you've been doing, your skills, your protocols, the judgment layer, none of that is platform dependent. If the tool changes tomorrow, you take your framework with you. The systematic approach travels. The professional judgment travels. Our strategy has always been model agnostic. The tool is the infrastructure. Your judgment is the asset. One more piece worth watching, the hardware play. OpenAI paid $6.5 billion to acquire Johnny Ive's design firm. Johnny Ive is the person who designed the original iPhone, and they've started building their own AI phone. It's co-designed with Qualcomm, and they're targeting mass production in 2028. The goal isn't to make a nice gadget. The goal is to stop paying Apple and Google 30% on every ChatGPT subscription and to stop operating within the constraints of someone else's platform architecture. OpenAI wants to own it. On iOS today, OpenAI can't run agents in the background. Apple controls what access they get. The super app strategy is already running into that friction. OpenAI is currently consulting lawyers about a potential breach of contract notice to Apple over Siri integration that underperformed their expectations. That's the tell. When a company valued at $850 starts designing its own phone and suing its most powerful distribution partner, they're not iterating on a product. They're building infrastructure to control their own destiny. Whether the hardware succeeds is unknowable. What it tells you about the strategic intent is not. So what does an experienced professional do with all of this? Or what does a business owner do with all of this? 3 things. First, adjust your mental model of what these tools are. ChatGPT and Claude are no longer chat boxes that you visit. They're becoming workflow infrastructure. They are the layer that your work runs through, not the tab you open when you have a question. If you're still using AI to answer questions rather than execute repeatable work, you're behind in the design intent of the product that you're using. Second, recognize that the current agent wave makes your domain expertise more valuable, not less. That work requires deep professional knowledge or the capability to go into the business's intellectual capital and extract that so that when a customer calls for customer service or an order or whatever interaction there is, it's already encoded and they get a faster, more polite, more efficient service than your competitors. The professionals and businesses who start encoding their workflows and intellectual property before their peers and competitors will capture and compound the advantage. Third, the European Union regulatory carve-out matters if your work touches these jurisdictions. The background execution and persistent memory features, the most powerful parts of the superapp, are excluded from EU, UK, and Switzerland at launch at the moment. Now, the most important thing I want to leave you with, the platform will change. It will keep changing. New models will emerge. OpenAI will iterate. Anthropic will iterate. Google will iterate. Something new will come along. The tool you're using in 12 months may not be the tool that you're using today. The professionals and businesses who stay ahead won't be the ones who picked the right platform. They'll be the ones who built their strategy around their judgment, not any single tool. Skills, protocols, encoded workflows, the systematic approach of connecting domain expertise in intellectual capital and property to AI capability, all of it is portable. I'm Jim Kennedy. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next week.